Welcome to Miss Martin Muses. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses, where we muse upon what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Well, today we're going to talk about something that makes me very mad and incredibly sad. And that is the subject matter for the movie Sound of Freedom. I went to see it yesterday. The hour afterwards, I had to kind of bring myself down. I was debating if watching it was a mistake because of how awful I was feeling. But then I decided, no, it was completely worth it. I needed to see that movie in the cinema. Child trafficking is something I am very well aware of, and I think it has come to a lot of people's attention because of certain situations that we are now facing. But what this movie does is it brings it to life. So let's jump into a little bit of a spoilery review because I'm going to give some details in the movie, but not really any major plot points that I think would spoil the experience for you. And maybe some of the things I say can give you a bit of a heads up to prepare yourself. Sound of Freedom is a movie starring Jim Caviezel. This is probably the best performance I've seen by him, even better than what he did in The Passion of the Christ. I think what made this a challenging role and so powerful because it was so subtle and because of what he was required to do. There were so many parts in the movie where he had to hide what he was really feeling and what he was really thinking. But at the same time, the horror and the anger at the evil he was seeing before him. His character has to go through many different disguises and deceits to accomplish what he's trying to do. The movie centers around two particular children and his desire to save them. The first child that he saves is the little brother. He was only 7. The movie opens with a very pretty lady. She tricks these children into being kidnapped. Children are so innocent, they believe adults. And you just knew she was using how beautiful she was and how charming to just suck them into the trap she was laying. She gets them to a location where she's going to take photographs of them. And this is, for me, the part that messed me up the most. She's taking pictures of these children. And if you didn't know any better, you would think, oh, look, cute pictures of children. But you know why she's taking these pictures. Toward the end of the sequence, she just poses the children, the angles she's starting to use, and the way she's making them smile. Later, you see a pervert browsing these pictures to choose a child. There were a few times in that scene and in some later scenes where you just gasped out of horror, and I did start to cry. I just couldn't handle it. That was just really hard to watch. So be prepared. One of the other plot points is that he gives up his job because the Department of Homeland Security, for which he worked, only supported him so far. And rightly so. They said, hey, we don't do these kind of things. This is international. And he was to be called home. Instead, he quit to continue trying to save the children. I like this because this is an example of how Jim Caviezel is able to just show with a facial expression how he's feeling. It's another thing I want to highlight about his performance and how they are able to show the horror of trafficking without seeing it. For obvious reasons, they can't really show it. But what they did was they had him starting to look at evidence, and you just see his face and how his face is reacting to what he is seeing. I think that Jim Caviezel would probably get an Oscar for this film if we were living in another time. Supporting character and actor who I admire very much from his work, Bella, Eduardo Verastegui. He's the producer of the film and also co-stars as a billionaire who invests the money for Tim's endeavors. Here they are pretending to be perverts seeking children. So hats off to him. Another very small role, but significant, is by Mira Sorvino as his wife. As he is going to rescue these children, it's often juxtaposed with his own 6 children. And he keeps thinking, what if this were one of mine? And I think that's significant because, quite masterfully, you finally start to realize by the end of the movie, they are our children. They're all our children. And there's the slogan, God's children are not for sale. His wife supports him, even tells him it's okay for him to quit his job. Finally, shout out to the role music played in the movie. Music and the joy of music for children. It's been my life's work, frankly, to teach that joy to them. It comes to them naturally. And the movie shows that even in the most dire of situations, children use what we call body percussion, where if you don't have your own drum, you use your hands, you slap your knees, or you make a table or the floor into a drum. That is a coping mechanism, but it is also a way that they celebrate their freedom. Toward the end of the credits, Jim Caviezel gives a message, which I would recommend everyone sit through, so wait for it. He talks about the difficulties they had in distributing this film and a call to action to support the movie because a storyteller is the most important person in the world. Stories are powerful. Stories move the world. As I said at the beginning of the review, I knew about child trafficking, but this brought it to my consciousness in a way that really left me. It's like, no, 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 no. This is not something we can ignore. This is something we've got to do something about. So there it is. There is Sound of Freedom. Go see it. If you think you may not be able to handle it, I completely understand. But there's many different ways that you can support this movie or find supports for children that have been trafficked. There was no downtime for me. There wasn't a time where I thought, well, okay, I'll just go to the bathroom. I watched to the very end. There were a few parts, though, that I had to kind of turn my head away. I think that this is probably one of the most important movies I've seen in the last 10 years, at least, because it's highlighting the elephant in the room. And keep in mind, this is not something that's just happening in South America. It's not happening just in Russia or in Thailand or Europe. It's happening right here in the United States. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Tell me what I got right. Tell me what I got wrong or something that I may have left out. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day and be certain to see Sound of Freedom.